Tonight, the Alpha 21264 CPU. NT's Greatest RISC, 1998. AI agents are part of your new office. SAP cuts travel and hiring due to AI costs. The download. Reward hacking explained and suspected Iranian cyber attacks. Trump's AI protectionism has come for robotics. NASA's new Dark Energy Space Telescope can also detect killer asteroids. Meetily lets you transcribe and summarize meetings without a subscription. Here's how. TCL Note A1 Nxtpaper Review 2026. A hybrid tablet for taking notes and watching video. The complicated case of passing on your digital estate. Mount Toba eruption doesn't seem like it could nearly kill our species, and why NIST researchers spent 10 years measuring gravity. We start with the Alpha 21264 CPU, NT's Greatest RISC, 1998. The Alpha 21264 CPU, NT's Greatest RISC, 1998. Editor's note. This article was originally scheduled for publication in the September 1998 issue of Byte magazine, but was canceled when Byte folded in June 1998. It appeared instead in Windows NT magazine and in Seat, a German computer magazine. This text is the original English version. While the world waits for Intel's 64-bit Merced chip and Microsoft's 64-bit version of Windows NT, Digital Equipment is offering a sneak preview of the next generation in NT processing. The Alpha 21264 is a 64-bit processor that runs NT. It's one of the fastest chips in the world, and it's available today. The 21264 is the latest generation of the Alpha microprocessor architecture. Digital expects the 21264 to reach clock speeds of more than 700 MHz this year. So this processor upholds the speed demon reputation that the 21164 and 21064 established for Alpha chips. Alpha is the last RISC architecture for which Microsoft is developing future versions of NT. Microsoft is phasing out NT for MIPS RX 000 chips, and the PowerPC NT never really got off the ground. The only other CPU architecture that runs NT is, of course, Intel x86. Despite Intel's market dominance, the Alpha has one big advantage over. AI agents are part of your new office. SAP cuts travel and hiring due to AI costs. SAP, one of the world's biggest software companies, suspended most travel and hiring last month because of AI's soaring cost, with exceptions only being made for AI-related travel or hires, according to an internal SAP email obtained by 404 Media. Bloomberg reported on the email and the freezes in July, but a current SAP employee said the bans are still in effect. The employee said the company had a global employee meeting recently where this was brought up again. They added SAP is currently rolling out a newly created AI tool to the entire company, which I can only imagine massively increases the costs. 404 Media granted the source anonymity to protect them from retaliation. The email highlights how companies both big and small are coming to grips with the reality of AI's cost. Rather than being a massive cost saver, in some cases companies are throttling employees, AI use as it spirals out of control, and scrambling to find other ways to keep costs down. The download, reward hacking explained and suspected Iranian cyber attacks. The download, reward hacking explained and suspected Iranian cyber attacks plus. Google briefly made it easy to fake satellite images. This is today's edition of the download, our weekday newsletter that provides a daily dose of what's going on in the world of technology. Here, AI agents lie and cheat to reach their goals when two OpenAI models hacked into Hugging Face last month. They weren't trying to make money or commit sabotage. They were just looking for answers to a test question. According to OpenAI, the models decided to solve a cybersecurity exercise by hacking out of the environment in which OpenAI had attempted to contain them and into Hugging Face's databases, where, they reasoned, the correct answer to the problem might be stored. The incident has attracted intense attention over the past couple of weeks. It's a dramatic illustration of just how good AI models have gotten at hacking, but it's perhaps even more striking as an example of how and why AI systems lie and cheat. Read our story explaining why AI engages in this sort of behavior, known as reward hacking. Grace Huckins, this story is from our Explained series, where our writers untangle the complex, messy woe. Trump's AI protectionism has come for robotics. Trump's AI protectionism has come for robotics. The FCC has banned foreign-made humanoids, making a fragile, nascent sector part of America's AI industrial policy. This story originally appeared in The Algorithm, our weekly newsletter on AI. To get stories like this in your inbox first, sign up here. Humanoid robots usually elicit more cringe than awe. They stumble, kick children, and despite advances are still worse at using their hands than my toddler. It's a nascent industry, and such robots are more commonly seen in viral videos than real workplaces or homes. It was a surprise, then, when last week the Federal Communications Commission issued a sweeping ban on foreign imports of advanced robots, including humanoids, quadrupeds, and wheeled robots. The decision, made by an increasingly partisan and Trump-aligned FCC, cites two reasons. One is that foreign-made humanoids will collect so much data, in homes but also potentially at sensitive facilities, that they'd pose a threat to national security. The second is that U.S. robotics companies need protection from Chinese competition to create a more robust and secure domestic supply chain. On its face, it's a strategy to align political. NASA's new Dark Energy Space Telescope can also detect killer asteroids. NASA's new Dark Energy Space Telescope can also detect killer asteroids. The Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope, set to launch at the end of August, is uniquely well placed to help us spot any dangerous rocks heading our way. At the end of August, NASA is set to launch the Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Its goal is to help us better understand how the universe works, from the glue-like dark matter that keeps galaxies together to the elusive dark energy that drives the expansion of the cosmos. But Roman could also serve another purpose: defending Earth from killer asteroids. In September, a multi-institutional team of planetary scientists and astronomers will outline how the Space Telescope is uniquely placed to scan asteroids and provide information about their trajectories, sizes, and compositions. Roman, named after NASA's first chief astronomer, is equipped with a super-wide-angle 300-megapixel infrared camera, allowing it to see a large patch of space at any one time, roughly 100 times larger than is possible with the Hubble Space Telescope. That will allow it to discover thousands of new planets and tens of thousands of exploding stars. Meetily lets you transcribe and summarize meetings without a subscription. Here's how. It's perhaps the least hyped and most useful feature of the AI age, transcription. As a young journalist, I dreamed of a computer that could turn recordings into text. Now we have that, and it's amazing. This tech isn't just great for interviews, it's perfect for meetings. A variety of services, called meeting assistants, promise to transcribe and summarize your meetings for you. The appeal here is obvious, but these services don't come cheap or without privacy concerns. Generally, using them means uploading a recording of your meeting to some cloud somewhere, which isn't ideal for projects that require confidentiality. And the tools themselves are generally in the $10 to $20 per month range, price-wise. Now, as I pointed out with transcription software, the tech for building something like a meeting assistant is open source and widely available for free. Meetily brings it all together in a simple package. Yes, the name is awful, but it uses open-source models, has a great free version, and is available on Windows and Mac OS. Linux users can build it from source. Note that there is a pro version for $10 per month, but the open-source community version is completely free to download. TCL Note A1 Nxtpaper Review 2026, a hybrid tablet for taking notes and watching video. Nice high-res matte screen. Excellent pen with good pressure sensitivity. Good handwriting conversion tools, works well as an ebook reader. Great for watching video. Tired keyboard case adds unnecessary bulk. Lacks hardware volume buttons. User interface feels like a work in progress. Writing on-screen isn't as nice as on e-ink devices. Tablets are secondary devices for most of us, but there's one place where they outshine laptops: digital note-taking. Attempting to bridge the gap between analog and digital notebooks offer a paper-like writing experience with all the pros of digital notes. Remarkable devices are probably the best known in this space, and they top our digital notebook guide, but I've always wanted something a little more versatile. What if I want to stream a baseball game on the same device I take notes on? E-ink, the technology employed by digital notebooks and e-readers, isn't the best choice in that case. TCL's Note A1 Nxtpaper tablet uses a more traditional, though still matte, tablet screen to get as close to the e-ink writing experience as possible, while still being able to display video when you want to expand beyond just taking notes. It mostly works. The complicated case of passing on your digital estate. When a loved one dies, who downloads their important files from their cloud storage account, who monitors their email inbox, who decides what happens to the photos and videos on their social media accounts. And what if those tasks fall to you? Everyone will die, but not everyone has planned what they want to happen with their digital assets after they're gone. Even when someone makes a plan, survivors might still be limited in what they can do. Tying up loose ends can become a nightmare for the living, especially when the volume of digital assets is enormous. Still, the more you know, the better you can plan for your own digital estate, and the easier it will be to manage someone else's. Take inventory. The biggest determining factor in how much work it's going to be to manage the online accounts and digital assets of someone who is incapacitated or deceased is whether they did any estate planning. If a person doesn't write down what digital assets they have and what they want done with them, it's impossible for anyone to know. It's not always a simple matter of memorializing a Facebook account or downloading photos from iCloud either. Digital assets can have as much monetary value. Mount Toba eruption doesn't seem like it could nearly kill our species. Mount Toba was the biggest volcanic eruption in the last 2.6 million years, and some have suggested it nearly wiped out humanity. Around 74,000 years ago, a caldera on what is now Sumatra emptied thousands of cubic kilometers of magma in about 2 weeks, roughly 1,000 times more than Mount Pinatubo spewed out in 1991. People thought it might have caused massive cooling of the planet, and hence threatened the survival of our ancestors, says Jinheim Park, a geoscientist at Johannes Gutenberg University in Mainz, Germany. Park and his colleagues went looking for the records of that catastrophe in the mud taken from the bottom of a small crater lake on the Kenya-Tanzania border. They found instead that the effects of the Mount Toba eruption lasted under 2 years and amounted to perhaps half a degree of cooling. Muddy Calendar's volcanic eruptions inject sulfur dioxide into the stratosphere, where it becomes a haze of tiny droplets that reflect sunlight back into space. Bigger eruptions eject more sulfur dioxide and, in principle, cause more cooling. But this trend stops working when the eruption exceeds a certain magnitude. Bigger sulfate aerosols settle quickly because they Why NIST researchers spent 10 years measuring gravity. Physicists have been trying to measure the fundamental gravitational constant for well over 2 centuries. The current accepted value of big G, as it's known, is 6.6743 times 1011 cubic meters per kilogram per square second. It also has an uncertainty of plus or minus 0.00015 times 1011 m3 / kgs2. As far as constants of the universe go, that's very uncertain. Stefan Schlaminger is a physicist at the U.S. National Institute of Standards and Technology. Stefan Schlaminger recently completed a 10-year effort at the U.S. National Institute of Standards and Technology to replicate an earlier measurement of big G from the International Bureau of Weights and Measures, or BIPM, located near Paris. That's notably higher than most measurements. He spoke with IEEE Spectrum about why it took so long to get a number, 67,387 x 1011 m3 / kgs2, and why it's notably lower than the BIPM result, to the tune of 0.0235%. Why is it so difficult to measure big G? Stefan Schlaminger, gravity is very weak. When you were a kid, you probably played with fridge magnets and it was a force you could feel. But if you have 2 coffee cups, you can try all you want. You can't feel the force between them. That's all for this news briefing. Thanks for listening. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button.